Hello folks, and welcome back to my channel. We are sitting down for another one of those I never thought I'd be making this video, but here we are videos. We are going to talk about eyeball tattoos today. Now, I'm going to preface this video by saying that I have a very biased perspective on this procedure because I myself am visually impaired. I have low vision in my left eye that definitely impacts my day-to-day life. Fortunately, it's primarily my distance vision that's impacted. My up-close vision with glasses on is corrected and great and fine. That's how I can do my job and do piercings all day. But my distance vision is very much affected, and I struggle a lot with depth perception. That affects my spatial awareness. It affects a lot of things in my day-to-day life. So I am coming to talking about this topic from the perspective of someone who is currently visually impaired. And honestly, I think that's an important perspective to have on a subject like this. So, eyeball tattoos, let's get into it. Just to start, the name eyeball tattoos is a little bit of a misnomer for a few different reasons. The first is that we're not really tattooing the eye in the traditional sense. No one is sitting down with like a tattoo machine and like tattooing someone's eyeball. You're injecting ink into the eye. That ink then spreads, and that is what tattoos the eyeball. The injection is done over the sclera of the eye, so you'll sometimes see it called sclera tattooing, which is another reason why I think eyeball tattooing is a bit of a misnomer, because again, the specific part of the eye that we're affecting with ink is the sclera, or the whites of the eyes. Now, as you might imagine, there are some risks associated with injecting ink into your eye. When this is done correctly, the ink is injected just underneath the bulbular conjunctiva and allowed to spread over the sclera to create that color over the white part of the eye. However, this layer that you're injecting into is very, very, very thin, and because multiple injections have to be done to cover the eye, it is unfortunately very likely that you could inject into the wrong layer, and this could cause ink to spread into the wrong layer of your eye, which can cause all sorts of problems ranging from swelling and pressure in the eye all the way to total vision loss and loss of the eye itself. This is a very, very, very delicate procedure, and I'd like to stress that this is a procedure that is not being done by a medical professional in a medical setting. This is being done by typically a body modification artist or sometimes a piercer or a tattoo artist who, generally speaking, has not gone to medical school. It's also not like a technically assisted procedure. So, for example, when they do injectable procedures for other forms of surgery, when they do other forms of surgery on the eye, they use various different pieces of technology to help guide the surgery to ensure that they are injecting at the correct depth and into the correct layer of the eye. This can be anything from MRI and ultrasound assisted procedures to procedures using different robots that help us ascertain that we're injecting in the correct layer. And this is not anything that's being done when you are having your eyeballs tattooed by a body modification artist. You are not in a sterile OR with all of this phenomenal monitoring equipment to try and help make this procedure safer. You're in a tattoo studio or a hotel room or on a convention floor. So these are not technologically assisted or technologically guided procedures. There is also no eyeball tattoo ink. There's no ink that has been tested for how it interacts inside of the eyeball. So often we're using tattoo ink and other inks to create these colors and have these effects. And once again, we're just kind of hoping that it works out okay and doesn't cause any issues. Arguably one of the biggest risks with sclera tattooing and eyeball tattooing is vision loss, and this can happen for a range of reasons. The ink ending up in the wrong layer of the eye is one of the most common reasons to see vision loss, but it can also happen due to infection, due to swelling during the healing process, due to pressure in the eye. There's lots of different things that can cause it, but you can lose part or all of your vision if this is done incorrectly. And this is kind of where I think my bias as a visually impaired person comes in, because I know acutely what it is like to live life with limited vision, and I can tell you that it is not great. It is not a wonderful experience. It impacts my ability to drive. It impacts my ability to get places. I have to wear my glasses all of the time. I am functionally useless if I do not have my glasses on. So not only do I always have to wear them, I always have to bring an extra pair with me because God forbid they break, I am screwed. I deal with ocular migraines and headaches due to eye strain, and I have to be really thoughtful about how I use my eyes throughout the week. If I have a very busy work week, I'm not going to be watching movies or TV or reading books on my day off. I'm going to be doing activities that rest my eyes and allow them to reset for the week to come. And there's also just a lot of things that I miss out on. It becomes disheartening over a lifetime to have friends go, oh my gosh, like, look at that bird over there, like, that's an eagle, that's so cool, or like, look at all these fish in the water, or look at this beautiful sunset and this skyline, and to not really be able to appreciate it because it all just looks kind of blurry to you, or you can't really see it. Another really, really big concern when we're talking about sclera tattooing is a condition called sympathetic ophthalmia. It's an inflammatory condition where the body responds to foreign objects in the eye and creates quite a bit of swelling within the eyeball. Folks who've experienced this condition describe it as very uncomfortable, feeling like their eyes are literally about to burst. The inflammation caused by this condition can cause you to lose vision, and even permanently lose vision. And even if your sclera tattoo is done perfectly, all of the ink is injected into the exact correct layer, this is still something that may happen to you, and quite a few folks who've gotten their eyes tattooed report dealing with this on and off in the years that have happened since. Someone that I know, who I've spoken to, who is my friend, discusses the fact that a couple times a month they can feel the swelling starting to set in on their eyes. It seems to be random, and then they end up with debilitating migraines for the next couple of days because their eye is just so swollen and so painful and so uncomfortable, and the pressure is just unbearable. And they will be dealing with that for the rest of their life, and their tattoo was done perfectly. Everything went exactly the way it's supposed to. That's just how their body chose to respond to the ink in their eye. And then, of course, there's issues like just straight up infection or straight up just people doing the procedure wrong. I'm going to throw up some pictures that are a little bit graphic, so if you don't want to see them, now is your time to exit the video. But these are some examples of just some very incorrectly done sclera tattoos, and some of the results that it's caused. And it is not great. It is not great. Now, when this started being something that we were experimenting with more like 15, 20 years ago, there was a lot of discussion about this being experimental and the risks that came along with it. And I think most folks involved with early sclera tattoos knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that this was an incredibly experimental procedure, that we didn't know how this was going to go, that we were basically just seeing if this was something we could do with the human body. And there was a lot of transparency surrounding this. Years have gone by, and I would say this is still an experimental procedure. We don't have anyone who's had sclera tattoos for 30, 40, 50, 60 years for us to document and say what's gone on or what happens long term to your eyes with this, especially knowing what we know about the natural degradation of the eyes over time, and the way that our eyes age with us. We don't have that information. And while this has been experimental, it's been done by body piercers and tattoo artists and body modification professionals. This is not something that's being studied in a clinical setting. We don't have, vision tests of people who've gotten their eyes tattooed from every 6 months for all of these years to actually have data to track vision loss and track what's going on. We have a bunch of cool people who are motivated to do cool things with their bodies and explore the limitations of their bodies, who are living with this and just kind of seeing how it works for them. But we don't have actual researched, regimented data about this, and we just simply haven't been doing it long enough to really truly understand the long-term effects. As someone who lives with a visual impairment and deals with that on the regular, it is really concerning to me to see now this new trend of pushing for sclera tattoos and eye tattoos, especially on Reddit and especially online, seeing all of these people getting it done and seeing people say that it's safe now. And that is what really pushed me to make this video, was stumbling across a post on Reddit where a couple folks were vehemently arguing that in 2023, sclera tattooing is safe and we totally understand how to do it and it's great and your eyes are going to be fine. And that is just so far from the truth, and to me so dangerous to be sharing online, especially to younger and more impressionable people. The fact that I'm seeing posts on TikTok of people who are 18 and 19 tattooing their eyes, and my immediate thought is, how is this going to affect you for the rest of your life? How is this going to affect your vision for the rest of your life? It is very concerning to me, which is why I wanted to kind of sit down and talk about this, and talk about it from the perspective of someone who is visually impaired and already deals with issues with my vision on a day-to-day basis. And it is not a great life to live. I would spend any amount of money in the world to not deal with my vision issues. And because I know someone in the comments is going to be like, oh my god, why don't you get LASIK? Why don't you do that? My condition is not treatable through LASIK. I would need like a stem cell treatment or like an eyeball transplant for my eyes to work properly. Unfortunately, I am just stuck with these eyes for the rest of my life, which is part of why I feel so strongly about this. There is a huge part of me that loves the side of our industry that is experimental, that wants to push boundaries with the human body, that wants to see what things are capable of. And I also personally think sclera tattoos look fucking sick. I think they look awesome. There was a part of little baby Lynn who wanted sclera tattoos so badly. And for people who truly understand that it is an experimental procedure, who truly understand the risks and want to do it anyway with their body, absolutely more power to you. I am all about bodily autonomy and doing what you want. I think if someone wanted to do this and really understood the risks and wanted to use their own lived experience as an opportunity to gather data for the industry, that would be incredible. I want to see someone get their eyes tested twice or 3 times or 5 times to get a baseline of vision for a few years, and then get their eyes tattooed, and then continue to get their eyes tested every 6 months, have pressure in their eyes tested, have inflammation in their eyes tested, and compile that data, and after a couple of years make that data accessible online for other people to see and research from and pull inferences from for the safety of this procedure. I think that would be incredible. So I am all here for it. But I really strongly think that this is an incredibly high-risk procedure that should not be undertaken by anyone who is not comfortable with the potential of vision loss and vision impairment, and who is not emotionally and financially prepared for the risks that could happen either immediately or down the line from a procedure like this. And I think not enough folks are talking very honestly about the very real risks and the amount of people who've had this done, who have lost an eye, who have dealt with infections, who have had permanent vision loss, or who now suffer from chronic, reoccurring inflammation in the eye that affects their vision, affects their head, affects migraines, and affects their life. And people are not really taking these risks seriously enough and talking about them enough. So that is why I wanted to sit down and make this video and just discuss very, very frankly a lot of the inherent risks with this procedure, because I think it's important to talk about the risks, the fact that this is not being done by a medical professional. It's not being done with the best technology possible to make it as safe as possible. The inks are not tested for the body, and we just frankly don't have enough data. And for every person out there who's got it done and says that they're fine and they're great and nothing has happened, there is someone out there who is saying, my vision is getting worse, I'm having these migraines, I'm having issues with my body regulating the pressure inside of my eye, or my body is having a response to the ink. And that is something that is so important for us to talk about and be transparent about with this procedure. If this is something that you are considering getting done, please do a lot of research, talk to a lot of people who have it, and if you're still really serious about doing it, go get your eyes tested, provide some data for the industry. We need it. As per usual, if you like this video and you like the content that I put out, please hit like and subscribe. All of your support means the world to me, and I can't wait to sit down and chat with y'all again soon. Bye!